Dave, just thought I'd send you a quick video in reply to yours, just to kind of talk about a couple of issues that you're having at the moment with both the back squat and the Romanian deadlift. At the moment, if I sort of focus on the Romanian deadlift first, to me it looks as though you're having difficulty hinging at the hip joint. You tend to be putting a lot more pressure through your lumbar spine, putting a bit more flexion into that lower back as opposed to hinging at the hips itself. This is a really common thing. Ultimately, it's a movement pattern that becomes ingrained into our nervous system due to habit, if anything else. It can be a mobility issue, but I think mobility issues ultimately arise from these movement pattern habits that we develop from years and years of doing things incorrectly. We just pick up bad habits really easily. At the end of the day, if you do something a couple of thousand times, then that movement pattern that you perform that many times is going to become almost second nature. Effectively, at the moment, when you're doing the Romanian deadlift, I'm sure if you look back at your own video, you can see this already. You're having a tendency to almost round the lower back. Okay. Now, as I've said, it's more of a movement pattern, nervous system issue at the moment. And it's not surprising that your lower back is probably having to do most of the work because your hamstrings and glutes aren't used to doing that movement or working at all. So what I'm going to suggest is that every session that you do, let's say 4 times a week, 5 times a week, I want you to get a wooden dowel or a very light barbell. There's some body pump bars that some gyms have in their studios that they do classes with. You can get one of those, it weighs next to nothing. And I just want you to use this wooden dowel to help you with your warm-up. I want you to effectively perform, should we say, 50 repetitions maybe, of the exercise that I'm about to show you. And obviously, accumulatively, that'll be about 200 reps a week. And it won't take you very long before you've got a couple of thousand reps in. And this movement pattern will become just as second nature as the one that you're currently conducting. So all I'm going to ask you to do is place a wooden dowel or a bar onto your back, and I want you to create 3 points of contact. So you've got the very base of your spine, with your coccyx in contact with the bar, just in between your arse cheeks. I want your mid-back, or around about your thoracic spine, kind of the area of your spine where your rib cage is. And I also want your head, okay? If you keep the bar in place with the back of your hand here, and the palm of your hand to keep it in contact with your head, I want you to slightly unlock your knees, okay? So I don't want them to be bent, I want them to be slightly unlocked. From here, you're just going to push your arse as far back as you can. When you push your hips as far back as you can, you'll get quite a severe stretch in the hamstring. And at that point, I want you to engage your glutes and your hamstrings in order to thrust your hips forwards, okay, almost in a horizontal direction, which effectively simulates the similar movement to the Romanian deadlift that I want you to learn. Hips go back, stretch in the hamstring, engage the glutes and hamstrings to return to the start position. And if you look at my lower back, you can see that I'm not putting myself into this position. I'm staying nice and tight, trying to visualize that wooden dowel down my head, getting those 3 points of contact. Now, there are a couple of other drills that I can give you, but I think this is the simplest and probably more effective for how quickly you can do it. This will help with your squat. I just want you to be aware though, that learning this movement won't help your squat ultimately, because the squat is more of a vertical movement, whereas the Romanian deadlift, as I've just demonstrated, is more of a horizontal. So please don't assume that just because I've taught you this hip hinging movement pattern, that you will squat like this also. With your squat, you need to just be aware of maintaining that 3 points of contact. I guess you could use the stick once more. And I want you to think about squatting vertically, okay? So you're trying to maintain that 3 points of contact, and you're going to look to bend your hips and knees simultaneously. It shouldn't be knees first, it shouldn't be hips first, It should be knees and hips simultaneously whilst keeping as vertical of a trunk that you possibly can. Give these drills a go, like I said, roughly about 50 reps before every workout, and it will really help teach and ingrain that movement pattern of hinging at the hip joint. And it should, provided that you're doing all your other exercises to strengthen your trunk, your abdominals, your lower back, etc., it should alleviate some of that potential risk of lower back pain, and you'll probably see the numbers go up on your Romanian deadlift as well. But let me know if you've got any questions, and I'll give you some more drills.